here to talk to you today so you can just understand what it's like to purchase in this climate where we are in a cost of living crisis, and it can seem like it's difficult, but it can be done at the same time. So I'm going to introduce you to the rest of the panel.
My name's Sebastian Newby, also known as Seb the Mortgage Guy. I have a new property finance as my business. I've had it for the last 8 years. It's a directly authorised firm. It's my baby. We help people get onto the property ladder. We help people creating generational wealth, purchasing properties, doing investments, and it's just, I eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff. And so it's really, really my passion. And I just want to kind of give as much information as possible just to help people get on the property ladder. We're very underrepresented in the property ladder and within the financial services industry. I've been doing property and finance for the last 20 years. I celebrate generational wealth that my son, who's now 20, purchased his first property at the age of 18, and he's now in the process of refinancing, pulling his money out, so you can imagine the big grin on his face at the moment, refinancing. But he's now in America, he plays football, and it provides him cash flow. So for me, it was very inspirational to know he's got on the property ladder at such a young age, and I'm practicing what I'm preaching.
Love that, love that. Hey guys, my name's Tayo, co-founder of Bricks with Tips, which I founded with my wife, Antoinette. And we've been investing in property for coming up to 10 years now. We've done all sorts of investments in property, whether it's like HMO, conversions, rent-to-rent, serviced accommodation, a lot of different things. We found our true passion in education around property. One of our sayings for what we do, kind of sum it up, is we want to bridge the gap between dreams and reality using financial education. And effectively, what that comes from is that we really want to show people that yes, property does take a lot of money, and property does take a lot of commitment, and it does require some element of a good salary. However, financial education is something that you shouldn't sleep on, because sometimes it can offer you, they're not shortcuts, but they're bridges to learn how you can overcome certain challenges. And in a lot of those cases, some of those challenges is high capital requirements that property takes. But hopefully we can speak about some things today about how you can overcome that. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. So are we ready to get into it? Yeah?
Okay,
let's go. So I'll start with you, Tyra.
Yeah.
The people that want to buy a home
Yeah.
or in the current process of buying a home, what would you say the current market is like at the moment, and what challenges do you think they would be facing?
So I will say, first off, that the property market is challenging at the moment. The reason why I'll say that it is, especially for first-time buyers, is that at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw house prices rise quite quickly. They are still relatively high. House prices are dropping at the moment, but they are still relatively high. The problem is that they're relatively high and interest rates have gone up as well, effectively. So that makes it very, very challenging for first-time buyers because they're going to need a higher deposit, and then when they finally buy the property, they're going to be paying more for it. One thing I do want to say, though, is that whenever we're talking about property and affordability, everything is relative. It's relative to you. We're very keen on get the education and apply it to yourself. As a saying, and I used to say on Twitter, stop taking paracetamol for someone else's headache, right? Their salary is their salary, their personal circumstances is their circumstance. Look at it for what it is. Like someone might say, 5% interest rate is crazy high. When we first bought our property, that's what was going. So that's all we knew, basically. For us, we're returning to normal rates, basically. But for people that bought when you might be able to get a mortgage at 2%, when it goes up, that's what they're struggling to get to. So I say everything's relative. Just look at what's affordable for you right now, and then use what you learn and what you learn from platforms like our platforms to kind of overcome that. But I'd say affordability is the key thing, but it is difficult for first-time buyers now, but it can definitely still be done.
I'm a big advocate, get on the ladder. There's a big opportunity at the moment. Yes, we're seeing house prices are slightly dipping, but there's a big opportunity. As I said before, we're very underrepresented in the property market. Get yourself educated, but also pull your resources together. Speak the conversation. This is a cool conversation to talk about property, finance. As soon as you mention the word property, people perk up. Everyone wants to be a bit more engaged because it's where you create generational wealth. So I encourage everyone, get into it. Yes, it can be daunting when you're first looking into it. Get yourself a power team, a good broker, solicitor, accountant, so you can start building your power team. Yes, what we learned and what we did 20, 25 years ago, you have to reverse engineer that now. When I say that, there's a big opportunity to become investors, create generational wealth buying these cash flowing properties, look to go in the Midlands, look to go up north. If you're gonna do investments, maybe do BRRs, buy, refurbish, refinance, look at flipping. There's another powerful tool out there called bridging finance. I'm a big advocate for it because it allows you to buy property, no proof of income. It allows you to buy property, renovate it, and then spin it, sell it, build up your cash flow, and move on to the next one. But there's big opportunities, but it's just arming yourself with this information and being around the right type of people that can support you on your journey as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I just would like to add on that a lot of the people that we've worked with that do get onto the property ladder, and after a few years of experience after buying and investing, they always turn around and say, I wish I did this earlier, right? Time in the market is better than timing the market. We can make, and experts can make as many predictions as they like, but circumstances can't always be predicted. And a lot of people always say, I would have bought 5, 10, how many years ago? So get your resources together, get your knowledge, get as much knowledge as possible. And one thing that I think both of our brands are very heavy on is collaboration, right? If you feel like you can't do it by yourself, like Seb said, team up with friends, family, partners, and just try and get it done if that's what you aspire to do. My second question, so with the current state of the market, what would you both say has contributed to it at the moment, and how do you feel that potential home buyers can overcome that?
Inflation, interest rates, cost of living, these are all factors that just terrify and scare the life out of you. But if you continue letting yourself be feared, guess what? You're never going to get on the ladder. Yeah. Don't allow that fear to deter you and not to get on the ladder. Arm yourself with the correct information. Yeah. What do I need to do? What's the affordability, as T mentioned earlier? What does my affordability look like? How do I factor in this? You know, worst case scenario, do I need to buy? Do I need to move out of this house that I'm in? And this is one of the things, there's a big FOMO, you know, people see online, people are trying to buy property, doing this, holding their keys up. You know, it can kind of make you feel like, I need to hurry up, I need to get on the ladder. Don't. Take your own time. Property is a long game. It's an investment vehicle. It's a long game. Yeah. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. So take your time, arm yourself in the right information, and when your time is right, it will happen, honestly.
Absolutely, I can't echo that more. Like what you said, property is not a get-rich-quick scheme. The get-rich-for-sure scheme. It will happen slowly, but you'll get there. You look at any billionaire's portfolio, there's always an element of property in there because they understand what it can do for you. I just want to talk a bit about property investing as well. I always say to people that there's always an opportunity. The thing about investors, right? Property investing sounds complex, but I always say all property investors is problem solvers, right? When the market's going down, a lot of different things happen, right? You might have somebody who needs to sell their property because interest rates have gone up and they borrowed at a really, really low rate and they had a really, really high mortgage. They need to get shot of that property because it's too big for them anyway and they want to downsize. That's something they actually want to do. So they need a quick sale. A property investor comes in and they actually solve that problem for them by buying the property, probably a bit lower, below market value because they need a quick sale, and then they can uplift it and take the time to uplift them. So property investors are just someone who finds a gap that needs to be filled and they fill that. And collaboration, just like Antoinette said, is key because for a lot of you here, there might be a property that is, all right, I'm going to say something else actually. The value is in the deal itself. Getting money for the deal is the easy part. I'm going to use a very, very simple example here, and it sounds extreme, but it's extreme intentionally. If there's a property that's worth 500K, but the seller needs to sell at 350K, do you think that you could get the 350K for it? You probably could. You could probably DM me on Instagram. I help you raise it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because there's so much value in the deal. There's 150K equity in the deal. And what I say to people is that sometimes when you find these deals, or if you can seek these deals and let people know what you do, you can get a finance. And that could be a finance from a bank, that could be from a bridging company, or that can be from private investors within your network or through people that you know.
So that's a big thing at the moment. So when I was mentioning bridging finance, when you're buying these properties to renovate and do up, these bridging lenders will allow you to get investor finance. When you're typically buying a house to use a mortgage, you have to do what's called family, the money deposit has to come from family or your own savings. So this is where bridging is a completely different ball game. It allows you to get in and get out, but this is what you can't do with mortgages. Typically when you're doing a buy-to-let mortgage, it's more of a long game. You're buying it to hold. But if you are buying property to renovate and flip, honestly, that's a game changer. Developers have been using this for years, but it's come to light because a lot of people in COVID had to start thinking outside the box. What can I do to make my money work for me? Now more than ever, with the cost of living, you need to make sure your money's working as hard as possible. Speaking to family, I'm telling you, the amount of times we speak to people and they go and talk to their family members and they say, look, I found a property, I need to raise a bit more deposit. You'll be surprised which auntie, uncle, grandma's got money hidden under a bed, and she suddenly wants to help you out to get on the ladder. It's a great conversation to have, but start sharing with family members saying, look, I'm trying to get on the property ladder, and they will encourage you. They know it's a great thing to do. So.
Can I just add to that as well, just on what Seb said as well? So important. If you are interested in property investing, document everything. Yes. Even if you believe that you're a beginner, document your journey, document your education. If you're going to networking events, document. That allows the family member to, when you finally approach them, they know that you've been going and speaking to Seb and you understand bridging finance. We live in a time where you can't say what you do. You need to show what you do. Yeah. People need to be able to see it effectively. And we know that through our businesses, definitely. So definitely show.
I think using the power of social media, so, showing that, online what you're doing, that honesty, whether you're going doing viewings, but the power of social media. I wasn't big into social media many years ago, and I realized how powerful it is. And people, as I come today, people are like, oh, Seb, I've seen what you've been doing, great content on what you've got on your YouTube, on your Instagram page. And for me, it was really nerve-wracking to post at first. But then when I realized it was helping people and sharing a bit more information and knowledge, that's how it snowballs, honestly. And then the last thing before I hand back to Antoinette, there's a question that a lot of you have in your head. If I do social media, do I need to show my face? Yes. The answer is yes. People buy into people, right? There's an element of trust when you show your face. You can't just get a logo off of Canva and operate behind that logo. It may work, but you're gonna get way more traction, way more trust, way more investment, way more success. If you show your face, show who you are. Authenticity is a lot easier to buy into. So when people book, sorry, go on, I'll let you go. No, finish. When people book consultations with me, one of the things I always do, I challenge them and say, right, now we finished up, when are you gonna do your first post? And they kind of get shy, but honestly, this is, when you step out your comfort zone, that's when the magic happens. Absolutely. I can't explain that enough. Stepping out your comfort zone is when, you really start seeing what this property world's all about and who you're connecting with.
You guys done now?
Yes.
So I initially said that property within this country makes up about 30% of the wealth. Aside from talking about generational wealth, do you think property as a whole is something that every individual in this room should get into? And what has property done for you and your personal circumstances? I think it's been, for me, so I had my son when I was 18, so quite young when I had him. I needed to, at the time I was like, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Anyone read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad? Yep. After reading that changed my perception on everything. And I was like, right, cash flow. I need cash flow and assets to give me my quality time so I can spend with my son. So that's what got me into property. It's been a game changer. It's allowed me to then buy back my freedom so I can go off and build my business. It's allowed me to build my business to then go into more property investing. Like I said earlier, my son's gone into it. It's been a game changer. This stuff back in the day wasn't talked about. You wouldn't get a room. I used to go in rooms like this, and there's a lot of people that didn't look like me. And I felt very, how can I put it, not in the right place. And so it brings me great joy today to come up here and to talk to you and to share a lot of this story with you and what you can do. And when you tap into this property, it's a game changer. You buy back your time. It's a vehicle. Now, some people get obsessed with property. You don't need to. It's just a vehicle. You can have that, you can have businesses, but it can buy your time to go off and do what you're passionate about. And honestly, if you start understanding how much of a vehicle it is, you'll really start reaping the benefits of it. Yeah, and not to double up what Seb said, he hit the nail on the head, really. Property as an investment, what it does is that I always explain it, and this is partly from Rich Dad Poor Dad as well, so a lot of you will be familiar with it. It allows you to earn without your presence. There's only so much hours and labor we can throw into stuff to make an income. If you start off earning income, trading your labor, what you can then do is put some money into investments. And then what happens over time is that those investments start to pay effectively. And then when those investments starts paying, it means that you don't physically have to be there. And it might not benefit to you, but it might not benefit you today, but when you start early, it will benefit you later. I was in the corporate world. I used to work at a lot of banks, JP Morgan. I was at Bank of America. I left Bank of America because I started as a TV presenter.
That's a big change. TV is very on and off as well. 3 months on, no more work for the rest of the year. I promise you it wouldn't have been possible, and I've got 2 kids. It wouldn't have been possible if I didn't start investing in property 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I started investing in property 8 years ago, I've got money coming in that, once again, doesn't require me to be at Bank of America. I don't need to be there. I can be abroad. God forbid I could have a leg injury. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It doesn't require me to be there because, like they say in Rich Dad Poor Dad, and if you haven't read it, give it a read. You've invested your money, and effectively what you do when you invest your money is that you make little employees that work for you. Even if that £1,000 is making £2 a month, you don't have to be there anymore.
Yeah.
Doing that for life, basically. And that's what good investments like property do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely attest to that as well. We had 2 children. I work a 9 to 5. My paid maternity leave at work was 3 months full pay. After that, statutory. Statutory is about £80 a week or something like that. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So having my investments actually allowed me to have two children back to back and take almost 2 years of work without having to think about where is money going to come from if I'm staying at home looking after my children. So that's another example as to why property has really worked for me personally. Anyone that hasn't started yet and wants to start, what would you say are some of the best avenues to get onto the property ladder?
I'm a big advocate for investments. If you're living in London, London is so difficult. It's so hard, and you just have to think outside the box. Now, there are some circumstances where, you're growing up and you're in an overcrowded environment, you need to get onto the property ladder and come out where you're living. Of course, look into what's available to you. You've got 100% mortgages. You've got right to buy if you're living in council property, where up to 4 of you can do it. So mum, dad, brother, sister can all pool your money together and buy that council property with no deposit. But the council will give you a discount, and that can get you onto the property ladder. You've got 100% mortgages. You've got, what's the other one? Shared ownership. So there's these schemes out there which are available to you to get onto the ladder. Look into that if that's your avenue that you're trying to do. But I can't preach this enough. Look into investments. Look into buying these cash flowing properties that can provide some cash flow for you. That's one of the best hacks you can do as early as possible for me.
I feel like Seb covered buying your first home really, really well. So I'll talk about investments as well. For investments, I'd say there's a few things, right? The first thing is, and this is for everybody, education. Find out what you want from property first, right? Do you want to retire early? Do you want to replace your current job? Do you want to supplement your current job? Do you just want time freedom? Whatever it may be, find out that goal. When you find out that goal, you'll find out what investment strategy suits you both best, because there's investment strategies that will be specific for certain goals. Once you find out what investment strategy you want to go for, flood your timeline, whatever platform you use, with whoever is in that area. Once again, follow us, Brooks with Tips, and New Property Finance, and Seb the Mortgage Guy on Instagram. Next to Instagram, there's an arrow down. It will show you recommended people. I always tell people, follow all of my recommended people as well, because this is free information. Like Seb mentioned, back in the day, there wasn't this free information. Seb facilitates a lot of investments up north. So for people that do have funds available to start getting involved in property, definitely do look up north, because like Seb said, there is cash flow in properties up north. If you have a little bit less than that, look at collaboration with other people. The good thing about collaboration is that you double the knowledge and the amount of traction that you can get with learning, but you split the risk, yeah? I always tell people, 50% of something is better than 0% of nothing, right? So collaboration is key. If you're in a position where you don't have anything, right, I'm a fan of deal sourcing. The reason why, I'll tell you what deal sourcing is. Deal sourcing is when you find a specific deal. Maybe you've got a relationship with someone on your road that's selling their house at a discount. Only you know that. They're selling their house, discount of 100K, let's just say, just make it easy. You're the only one that knows that, so you've got that value there. But you don't have the funds to facilitate that. So what you do is that you approach Seb and say, Seb, you're an investor. Do you want this deal? Seb's like, there's 100K of equity in this. I'll take that all day, basically. And Seb will pay you for that deal. Minimum any deal goes for is £3,000. Some deals can go up to £10,000, basically. And if you sell one of those a month at 3K, that's £36,000. The key thing I like about deal sourcing isn't the fact that that it's got low barriers to entry, because you don't need much money to get to deal sourcing. The key thing I like about it is that if you do that for a year, not only will you have that £36,000 at the end, which is great, but what you would have done is you would have assessed 12 deals, so that when it's time to do your 13th, you know what is a good deal and what isn't. Does that make sense? So when you're finally ready to pick up the phone to Seb and go up north to buy your first investment property, you've assessed 12 deals already. And you and Seb can be going back and forth because Seb, as a mortgage broker, he will help you with the investment side as well, basically. So you lot could be gisting about it, learning a bit more about it, but basically, it will allow you to go into that third team investment with a lot more confidence because that's your investment. So yeah.
And there's quite a few avenues to get into property. So if you don't have the resources, you're like, do you know what? You know, you're talking about buying. I don't have the money. My family don't have the money. My friends, I'm too embarrassed to ask. There's deal sourcing. There's rent to rent. There's no barrier to entry at the moment.
Yeah.
And with the power of social media, game changer.
Yeah.
So honestly, start looking into it. Get the knowledge, get the education, and go and start your property journey. The sooner you start it, the better for you, honestly.
And just a statement from me, like I can name at least 3 people that have raised over 100K for the first ever property that they've bought, just off branding and social media and documenting. So it can definitely be done.
Some of the questions that we get through our work is, oh, I work a 9 to 5, a challenging job, but I really want to get onto the property ladder, or I really want to become an investor. What advice would you give to someone who is occupied with other things but does want to start investing or get onto the property ladder?
So if you dedicate, say, 1 hour a day, 1 hour in the evening a day, do not disturb, because you know how dangerous these phones are and how much they suck in your attention and distract you. Just concentrate an hour a day just to focus on what you're going to do. Look into whether it's going to be cash flow, whether it's going to be trying to get on, do rent to rents, just education to say, right, I'm going to dedicate 1 hour a day. I challenge all of you that anyone's looking to do it, just 1 hour a day. When you start adding that up, the amount of knowledge you'll have by the end of the first month will be then go to a networking event. So there's a property networking event, just Google property networking event in your area. That's it, start connecting. If you're too nervous to go to an online, to a networking event, go to an online one. There's online property networking. You can click your Zoom off so you can be in the room but without actually showing your face, just to build confidence, to see what they're talking about, what's the lingo, and just familiarize yourself with it. Just putting yourself in rooms like this, like what you're doing now, that's what you're doing. When I said earlier, stepping out your comfort zone, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I don't want to add too much. Seb hit the nail on the head. What I will say though, Seb spoke about networking. I run a group that does serviced accommodation. If you are interested in serviced accommodation and you know you're interested, just for BYP, I'm going to give 5 free tickets to our networking event, just off the back of what Seb said. So come see us after, and just 5 free tickets, no obligation.
I'll just add that I actually still work full-time as a property investor and a property content creator. So one of the things that I would say is time management. Make sure that you're spending your time wisely. There's still, like I said, I've still got my career, but I'm still very much invested in our brand and our business, and just working with the right people as well. We've been fortunate to work with amazing people such as Seb and so many other people that have got great platforms where you're just getting so many gems and just building a network that's helped me just navigate the two. And you can do the both if you wanted to get into investment but still had a demanding job.
Absolutely, and it just boils back down to delayed gratification, right? You don't have to like just eat sardines for the next 5 years, innit? But focus on the goal, because remember, everything just snowballs, right? So if you can start off early and just know in your mind, it takes mental strength, know in your mind the goal that you're going towards. Instead of feeling like you're suffering, you'll actually start walking into work with a little bit more vim because you're dedicated to your goal, basically.
Yeah.
And when you buy that first property and it's turning an income for you, it's like, yeah, I got paid today. You lot wait till payday. I'm joking, but you know what I'm saying, though, basically. Like, just try and delay that gratification, and it will benefit you, and it will snowball. The first property may be the toughest. After that, you've got equity. I keep telling people that first-time buyers is difficult because, especially if you're privately renting, you have to save, pay rent, pay bills, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people, after their first property, a lot of people rely solely on equity. House prices going out, they refinance it, buy another one. Refinance again, buy another one. Now you've got 3 properties. Just waiting for another one to go to refinance. Let me go for another one. But yeah.
I must say as well, I've got a YouTube channel because to show people, because I know sometimes you say this stuff and it sounds like we make it sound so easy because we're doing it. I do site visit days where we bring you along. You can see a site that's been myself and the builder. You can see and starting off a project. when it's finished, as in the service accommodation, it's rented out as an Airbnb. So if you want to come along, you can see for yourself. I've got a YouTube channel where I show clients that I've taken on and what the projects that they've done. Check it out. Arm yourself with this information and tools so you can prepare yourself. But if you're in any doubt, speak to a mortgage advisor, start looking what your affordability looks like, start to book a consultation with mum, dad, anyone you're thinking to pool your resources with or might be interested, get on a consultation call together and start that journey. Best thing you can do.
Thank you. I think we're done now.
For questions, right?
For questions, yeah.
So, thank you. This has been a popular session. You've got a lot of questions. So, in the interest of time, just the top rated are going to be asked. So, first one is, what percentage of your salary should you aim to spend on monthly repayments for your property?
What percentage of his salary?
Yes.
Interest rates gone up recently, isn't it? A lot of people operate 50, 30, 20, which is save 20% of your salary. Invest 20% of your salary, try to save 30, and then 50 is kind of like your bills, basically. I'd say that is good if you can do that. I would say that even if it's like 60% of your salary covers like your bills and what it costs for you to live, and then you can spend 40% on savings and investments. I think that's acceptable because we are living in, like, we can't just be saying cost of living crisis and applying the same means, right?
Yeah.
People might have already had a mortgage and that mortgage has gone up by £600.
Yes.
It's just what happened, right? So I'd say that about 60% to cover all bills, basically.
Okay, and what are your opinions on property buying schemes? For example, shared ownership and lifetime ISAs?
So shared ownership, I know it gets a lot of bad press. It fits a certain demographics and a certain type of person. So yes, it might not be for you, but however, I get clients, for example, mum of four, she's by herself, she earns good money. I've got Jasmine, she's a social worker, earns 80,000 a year. She's not in a position to save up enough for a deposit, a large enough deposit. She saved up £5,000, getting a gifted deposit from a family member. She lives in rented accommodation. Shared ownership's right for her because it moves her out of the neighborhood that she's in, where she's got 2 boys. She can move into a nice area in a 4-bedroom house. That shared ownership scheme works well for her. It may not work well for someone else. A single person trying to get onto a property ladder has got gifted deposit from someone else. Everyone's circumstances is different. So do not judge one book by that cover. Honestly, speak to an individual about your circumstances.
Yeah.
Can I just stress on top of that as well? What Seb said is bang on about shared ownership. Was it Jasmine who's got 4 kids, right? Kevin, you're a bachelor, you earn well. You just want to buy the shared ownership property because it looks good. Please. Shared ownership isn't for you. Move further out and buy a property where you can attain full ownership. Jasmine needs to be in the area. She's got 4 children, support systems there. So it's suited for her. Don't go for the shiny object and sacrifice your equity today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Challenge yourself to go further out, commute a bit longer.
Yeah.
Maybe the bathroom doesn't look as great. That's fine. Equity is the key thing.
Yeah. I'll just quickly add to that as well. Sacrifice. Yeah. Sometimes. So, for example, we wanted to buy in London. I'm originally from North London. He was from South London. He was not coming to North, right? When we first got married, buying in South London wasn't an option for us based on what we were earning at the time. We bought somewhere in Sittingbourne. Who even knows where Sittingbourne is? Okay, there you go. We bought somewhere in Sittingbourne, but that purchase actually allowed us to move into London. I think it was 2-3 years later, because of the equity that we built. Now we could have jumped on the shared ownership scheme and bought in London, but that wouldn't have done anything for us based on our circumstances, especially now where we've got 2 children. So assess what is right for you, your personal financial situation.
Okay, and what kind of educational schemes do you recommend for young people that are trying to get on the property ladder now?
I'd say tap into whatever. Look, find out what you want. When we talk about education schemes, I don't know if you're talking about courses, but like Seb mentioned, there's so much free information that didn't exist when we were coming up. So much free information. I say that when you find out what you love and you want to specialize in it and you want to dig deep, you want to know what it is to launch a rent-to-rent business, or you want to know it specifically how to raise finance from a private investor. Once you know that's exactly what you want to do, then that's when you want to go and do a specific course for it. But use the internet, use YouTube, use Seb's channel. Maybe you're watching Seb's channel and there's someone who brought up north and developed a property to a serviced accommodation, and that inspired you, and you said, yeah, that sits with me, and it's in line with my life and the current work that I'm doing, and it would fit. Only at that point would I say that, yeah, now let's dig into what else is out there to train me. And I use the word train me, how to specialize in this so I know it in and inside out, basically.
Okay. And this next question is about mortgage loans. So do you see the mortgage loan structure changing in the UK by becoming closer to the Western European structure from mostly variable to fixed rate?
I think that meant, I think the question that's being asked is that, are we going to see more people go to variable rather than staying on fixed? I think in the UK, budgeting is key, right? In this UK, right? So fixed is, people love fixed because you know how much your mortgage is going to be for the next 2 years, and people want to be able to budget. You can't have your largest bill just be doing wiffity basically. So yeah, I think the British public will stay with fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for just one last question. And what contingency plans should we have in place when looking to get onto the property ladder?
Let's do one property and one investment as this the last question. So, contingency plan, if you're buying a residential property, I always say that property is a tangible asset. You got walls, you got a roof. If your Apple stock goes to zero, it's just on the computer screen now, right? But if your house goes to zero, you still got walls and a roof, which is inherently why it won't go to zero. What that does is provides a basic human need, which is shelter. The point I'm getting to is that if you buy a 2-bedroom home and you're struggling to pay your mortgage, you can always rent out a room. You can always rent out a driveway.
Yeah.
You can always rent out a garage. You can always rent out the room you're in and go back to your mum's house.
Yeah.
And then investment. Investment, I'm going to flip what they said. Yeah, go on, Seb.
Investments, what you can do, you can get a rent guarantee scheme. So what that does is if the tenant stops paying, then that way the insurance will kick in and cover you. So that's something you can do. You can use British Gas, home care cover, covers you for gas, electric, boiler, and these type of covers that you can pay. So should anything happen, should your boiler break, which is an example everyone always uses, you've got cover. Well, anything from £20 to £50 a month, you've got that coverage. You've got your rental cover. So that pretty much safeguards you if you're doing investments.
And also speak to your lenders as well, in whatever circumstance you find yourself in. You'll be surprised that they're always willing to help. In the pandemic, most of our properties were rented out. A lot of our tenants were furloughed. And we could only, as landlords, help so much. At the end of the day, we've got a mortgage to pay. But we found that our lenders were very helpful with assisting our tenants pay essentially for our mortgage. So just when you are purchasing, just read the small print and see what help is available if you get to a point where you do need that help.
Awesome. So a big round of applause for our property experts. The next sessions are starting at 4:15, so you have a short break right now, and we'll see you all soon.
Lightning, right?